This is Unfiltered Vitamin Z being brought to you by Zaid. Please subscribe and check out the Unfiltered Vitamin Z podcast for more topics ranging from STI policy, history, cannabis, religion, conspiracy theories, all types of shit. You know what I'm saying? So go check that out. Also, link in the description. Also, in terms of like global security at large, when you're looking at things within the realms of science, tech, and innovation, the things that are impacting and seem to trouble us the most are shit that we can't even really touch. Right before you could see the enemy. You know what I'm saying? You knew what, like if you look at international relations and the history of that throughout the 20th century, the enemies that people were facing in terms of the Cold War, those felt like visible, tangible things. You know what I'm saying? Nowadays, like a nuclear bomb, that shit gets dropped, boom, people die. But nowadays with like, for example, the effects of climate change causing an issue for resources, droughts, weather patterns, destruction. You know, the water temperature gets a little bit hotter. All of a sudden you get more hurricanes, stronger hurricanes, natural disasters. How do you aid? How do you help? How do you mitigate these different risks? You know what I'm saying? What about food security, right? How are we gonna feed people? How are we gonna get people enough water? Who's fighting over the water? Look at the Nile River. It goes from the south to the north, and you know, now you got different African countries sort of competing, building dams. It's taking off water before it even gets to Egypt. You know, whether or not you can control a country's resources, you can kind of sort of control them. So it creates a whole issue because all of a sudden these things is harder to predict. It's harder to figure out what exactly is going to happen here, what exactly is going to happen there, and it creates a sort of an escalation of problems, right? Because you already have cultural tensions with this place, but now all of a sudden you're fighting for basic resources, and it goes back to a very primal trait, you know, kill or be killed, the fittest, right? Who is able to adapt quickest, who is able to figure out how to get resources and find the best places and get the best food, and then can mate with the baddest bitches, you know what I'm saying, and then produce the best genes, produce the best offspring with the best genes, to then create a whole legacy and a whole family, you know what I'm saying, generation after generation of people that are able to adapt. And now you got all these best traits within this one family, and other people fucking died off. They couldn't survive, they couldn't adapt, right? Can't adapt, can't survive. So how well can we adapt to situations is the security issue, is a whole factor in the global scale. Because if you can't adapt, if we're unable to anticipate which industries are going to close, how is AI going to take over this job? How's this going to work? How's that going to work? You know what I'm saying? Going into like a fourth industrial revolution, if all these things are escalating at such a high speed that we're unable to predict and then move accordingly, then you're sort of just frozen in this lake, and you're like cold and drowning at the same fucking time. And you know, that must suck. That's some Titanic shit right there. You know what I'm saying? So it is probably better off to look at these issues from a way of trying to go as far away into the future as we can, thinking of what sort of problems tech-wise, science-wise, environmentally will come up, and how can we backtrack that? How can we backtrack that to then watch our own decision making? Because oftentimes we're going to create our own problems. We as humans are problem solving people. And when we don't have problems, we go out and create problems. A lot of times we look for solutions to problems we don't have, and then we go create the problem so we can match it up with our solution, versus creating a solution to a pre-existing problem. That's often the problem. That's often the situation. And questions are more important than answers here. Because if you're constantly looking for an answer, looking for a solution, when you're forgetting the question, then you're just figuring shit out that we don't necessarily need. We need answers to the questions we have. And a properly worded question will have the answer within it. If you have the proper perspective, it'll already tell you where to look instead of you constantly looking everywhere. You know what I'm saying? So that's one issue.